rapid fire question time. Go.
Boom, boom, boom. So one from Brian that I think is mostly for Sarah, and I have an answer too, but I have to genuinely ask, do you ever pick up a book, spend a bunch of time reading it for reference for an episode, and then get frustrated because it turns out there's zero value for what you're looking for?
Yes.
Yes. I figured I've had that too.
Yeah. Usually it's when I'm doing the clan deep dive episodes, and almost all the clans in the old world have their first edition clan book and then the revised book. And the amount of times I've read through the first edition book and anything of use I could have grabbed from the first edition book was just in the revised anyways. Makes me want to throw things. Because now and again, the first gen book will have like a little nugget of something good, like the Ventrue birthday parties.
That's so cute.
It's so good. I will cling to that forever. But
it's good.
90% of the time, it has been me reading the first gen book, and then it's like, okay, now time to go to compare notes and revised. I could have just read revised. Fuck, that was 2 days. Neat.
Yeah.
So I think now personally, I have such a soft spot for first ed that I don't necessarily agree with that. But second, the revised edition is kind of what has rolled forward through most things, including like the current edition. It's usually revised is going to be more correct than the first edition.
Yeah, that's
and
more
like even in W20 or V20 or whatever. Of the 20 editions, usually they're going with the revised editions. And so, I mean, it is literally a revision of those first edition books. Yeah, that's
more, it's like, I'm not saying the first ed books are not of interest or of note or good things to have as like a storyteller in your backlog. It's more just because when trying to write the clan episodes, I'm trying to make sure everything is tying from V5 into old world. And a lot of the notes and things taken for V5 tend to be from like third ed and the revised books and things from like V20. Sometimes I read things in first ed and go, why the fuck? Why did I do that? But cross-referencing your notes is good, and that's how you are a thorough researcher. So like, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna be upset every time.
I don't do the homework.
We love you, though.
Oh, thanks.
You do other homework.
I do other homework.
Mumfrey999 asked, have you all caught any hunters listening to your show trying to gain an upper hand?
Yeah.
Also,
no. What are you talking about? Why would hunters listen to our show?
I have, and the trick is a lot of hunters are sad and lonely. So what you need to do is find their Tinder bio and swipe right, and I've solved the problem.
I mean, the editor's right here. He's listening right now.
Hunter is listening.
Yeah, we caught a hunter like 10...
I
more
probably
than 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I probably listen to these episodes more than anybody else, actually, because I edit. And if they're not listening yet, they will be soon. Wink, wink.
Oh my god.
I mean, why would the amateurs care? The professionals are here listening.
Yeah. So we have another question. Witch Knight Black asks, what kind of VTM Chronicle have you always wanted to play, but just haven't had the chance yet? Dynamics, a type of packer coterie, plot theme, setting, unique concepts, all that good stuff.
Dark Ages.
Yeah. I have only gotten to play 2 sessions of a Dark Ages game, and I had made a Leannan Bloodline Gangrel, like just full-on Wickerman, witchy, just batshit character.
Fun.
Yeah. And I was really keen on playing it because Dark Ages is where you start to see the seeds of modernity and a lot of big societal shifts that we will be dealing with in more modern games. And I liked the idea of playing a character that is basically fated to die because we're going to conquer all of the earth. And I had wanted to really explore that and get into that kind of shit more. And then that game fell apart. And I've been like, I want to make a Wicker Man. Please let me do it. Please, somebody. Let me play an unhinged witch, please.
I've always wanted to play actually dives into like the other supernaturals and the weird stuff of World of the Darkness. Like I've played a lot of games that are like vampire politics and society, and I think that's really fun. But there's always been touches of stuff like one of the games Skipper and I, the werewolves are getting involved, the race may be involved, but it's weird because I feel like on a high level, as you read all this, all this stuff kind of has to be on some level of awareness. And I'm not saying play like the superhero Super Friends game where everyone plays a different supernatural, but like just like actually like what happens when the vampire coterie and the like Fae court have a disagreement over whose land is whose kind of thing. Like, I haven't done a lot of that splat game where they are less like, these are all just like threats or they pop up for flavor, like an actual, like, we're getting involved in all these.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. I love the political intrigue. It's lots of fun, but it's like, that's not super what I'm into. Like, I dig it, and for like a session or two or for like a story arc, it's cool, but I don't like games that are fully just like court-based political stuff. Like, I like to get into shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, when I run, excuse me, I know I'll talk about this more in like future episodes, but I really like to steal like kind of like gameplay styles from other games to throw into my vampire. Like, okay, this next like couple sessions, I'm basically going to run like a Call of Cthulhu game where you're just investigating something fucked up. Yeah. Or it's just like, okay, well, you're not supposed to be here, so you actually are going to have to deal with like some either sneaking or combat. Like,
there are red skulls on the names of the PCs in this area.
Yes.
I had one more game that I'm like, I really wanted to play because I made this character and I wanted to play the game, but the game never happened. Which is, I made a Thin Blood character.
Oh yeah.
Who is a forensic anthropologist, like coroner kind of character, and was stuck was like forced to work for the Camarilla, and I was really excited to really delve into playing a Thin Blood character and what that actually means, like in the context of being in a game where everybody else is a full-blooded vampire. And I really still want to do that, and somebody let me play a Thin Blood in your game, please. Somebody, please.
If we're going with that kind of answer, I really want to play my Malkavian that I gave for our bonus NPCs. Just that like primal, like tapped into the weave or what the cobweb or whatever you call it, like borderline looking into like themes of like the internet and like we're 30 so years later, how has that affected people? Like just being constantly online, being constantly bombarded with thoughts and opinions that are not your own, and just like that primal instinct versus like the never-ending shouting of others in your own head. I think that could be a really cool character.
Hell yeah.
I just want to play Sergei.
I
have played Sergei in 2 different games, and both of them were short as fuck.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
All right.
I just want to play Luca.
I'm working on it. I'm trying.
Maybe we'll get a game going someday.
Hell yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Hopefully.
So next question is also from Witch Knight, who asked, which is one piece of lore that you've come across that you particularly disregard? Like one thing that gives you so much mental vertigo that you just decide it's better to pretend as though that was never said doesn't exist.
It's not a fucking disease.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking disease.
For those who don't know, it's the Zamitsi being a...
Again, that's a theorem. That one's not even like a concrete one.
It's part of the lore.
No. It is a supposed bit. It is a potential.
Was it in the book?
One of the books basically says it's true.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, and I also don't want to name people or the name of the book because there's a lot of controversy around it. The rumor is that the guy who wrote large chunks of the book kind of wrote stuff in there in spite as he was on his way out of the company.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Isn't that the one that had the true Bruja?
It may have been, but it's an early book. There's a lot of back and forth on it. I was not in the writing room, so I will not say for sure. But that I believe it. Actually, I will say the name of the book. I believe it's the Old Secrets of the Black Hand book, which is where the virus thing first came up. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And yeah, a lot of people don't like that.
Yeah, they just kind of went with it. Also, I'll go with it. Cathians, don'ts. I don't mind them. Honestly, I don't mind the idea of Cathians, Kwaijin, the Eastern vampires are don'ts. I just don't like how they're tied into Saulat, the white savior.
Yeah, there's a lot of the way that was written because it was the 90s and it was a lot of Western perspectives on Eastern culture, at least my understanding of it. I might be wrong and I'm missing a lot of context, but the way I've seen it played and handled is very just like This is uncomfy. Let's just not.
I love the idea.
The ideas are great. The core idea is cool.
Right. It's a really big bummer that there's just like a hole on the map of the globe. Like, this doesn't exist because we literally can't acknowledge the books that are written for it. So, like, there just aren't vampires over there. You know what I mean?
Well,
here's how I would fix it: is you V5, you core make them work like every other clan, and then you kind of pull a Hakata on them, where you can buy up disciplines that kind of fit those themes and ideas, and they're all kind of one clan, quote unquote, of vampires who have abilities that can work a little differently. Maybe you lean into like the blood sorcery or something like that, but you still make them normal vampires. They are not different because they're Asian. They are not created by one white guy. They are just the vampires from Asia.
They were also supposed to be vampires without sin. They didn't really have beasts. They didn't really have the clan curses.
I would cut that out or make that like that's their theory. They think that that's who they are.
Or there's like chunks of them that think that's there's chunks that don't. I know this is gonna probably be a controversial one. I, at least for me running VTM games, completely cut out the idea that God is real. I don't like the idea of, you know, the Bible, Cain and Abel stories being true, like all of that being like, no, it is coded hard actual facts that angels are real and God is real. And I completely nixed that from any game I run.
Yeah.
And before I forgot, I needed to add, like, the way I deal with the don'ts in my game is I do the old world lore that it's like, oh, if you're a vampire and you go out there, you just don't come back.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of how I handle, like, vampires dealing with changeling.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay if you interact with, like, changeling characters, but if you go into an area that's, like, really high into their shtick, if you fuck around too much, it just fades to black and you kind of just disappear for hours. And then you show up later with stuff in your pockets.
Why do I have this bottle cap?
Yeah.
See, I want to add more into that too, because what Sarah said about like the no hard proof that God exists. There's no baseline assumption that the milieu of Christian ideologies mix that was confirmed was ever confirmed. I think it makes everything a lot messier, and I think it makes a lot of the themes and ideas that Vampire tries to get into a lot less interesting when you give them the baseline answer of, the Big G's up there.
Big G's up there.
Big G's up there. He's just decided to be an asshole.
Yeah, and I also don't acknowledge, because of that souls are tangibly correctly a thing. I very leave that in the gray area of, like, there is something going on and it probably needs more research, but we don't have enough documented, like, phenomena and studies to, like, confirm this one way or another. So player characters, NPCs are going to have whatever fucking thoughts running the gambit. But I, as the ST, I'm like, we don't know if souls are real. We don't know if God is real. We don't know about a bunch of shit. There's just phenomena that happens, and you handle it how you're going to handle it.
And I think it's weird that Vampire is the most, like, just, that stuff's cool. Like, at least from my reading, and I haven't read every book, but I did the Supernaturals of World of Darkness, and I'm probably going to do a part 2 as reading some of, like, Demon the Fallen. And even that doesn't seem to 100% confirm that God exists from at least my reading of it. They were in a really nice place. There's a war. They're not allowed anymore, and they think it was heaven, and they're dealing with that. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting, but there's that question in there, at least from my baseline reading of the setting. So I think it's weird that Vampire is the most just like, yep. So my biggest I hate this piece of lore isn't actually from Old World. There's a lot of stuff that I think's kind of I leave out, but I think the biggest one that really pissed me off was in Chronicles. And it was when they switched everything over to the God Machine. Like, so the God Machine was basically when they added their version of demon to the game, where demons were reality deviants. Angels were the creatures that built reality and kept it working. The God Machine. It's literally, God is a giant mechanism that is all of reality, and angels maintain that, and demons are, for some reason, not a part of it, and they're trying to fight back and destroy it. It makes every single other supernatural in Chronicles a result of reality deviancy. So it essentially overwrites the lore of every other setting, and then they tried to confirm that was true across all the different books. And personally, as someone who doesn't use demons or angels or find that very interesting, kind of ruined Chronicles for me, and I stopped buying the books because, like, in our Hunter game, it never moved to V2, even though we talked about buying, like, the updated rules. And I read that, and I was like, never mind. We don't need that for our game. Like, I don't need I think it's cool that vampires exist, and maybe it is because of a disagreement with God. Maybe not. I think it's cool that werewolves exist because Gaia, which is like completely non-Christian, is like trying to defend itself. I think it's cool that changelings are like kind of these otherworldly, like other dimensional beings who have kind of half merged with our reality. Like, I like those ideas, and I think the God Machine gives you an answer for all that, and it's not a very interesting one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's hard to have a horror movie when you've seen the monster in full light so early in the movie.
You gotta hide them for a second.
Yeah.
Or if not, never show them.
And I think it would have been interesting if they hinted at that being the setting and didn't really do much with it, or like just slowly hinted at it across all the books, and you're like, and you piece it together, kind of like they did the new Ravenloft book, where there's a whole meta plot hidden in that book of what happened to the second and third editions of Ravenloft. Why is it that way now?
Yeah.
You got to read the whole book. If they did something like that across the setting and slowly were hinting at that, but they pretty much changed the whole name of the system to the God Machine Chronicles, put out a whole book, and it said, this is the truth, and it's like on the cover of half the books. Like, that's not interesting. There's no revelation for your players there. It's just like a...
Yeah, because I had a chance to get that one, and I was like, I don't want it. I did get the Demon the Fallen one, because I was like, Mecha what?
Yeah, that kind of
This seems
part of the reason why, like, I don't give a fuck about the Matrix as a franchise.
See,
Same thoughts where it's just like, oh, reality isn't, a bunch of these interesting metaphysical, like, questions of philosophy things. It's no. Society is literally run by robots, and you have to wake up, and then if you go to sleep, you can learn kung fu by downloading it into your brain. And
See, I disagree, but I recently watched those movies, and it kind of goes in the opposite direction. If you get into it, and especially the supplementary material, it kind of, the first movie ends with like, yeah, this is all simulation, but then then they break into reality, and then that's what reality is and all that. In the later movies, it's kind of hints that there's a lot more going on to it. And like in the real world, the non-simulation world, people start using abilities, and like it goes further into like Gnosticism and like some of the beliefs of that, which I find really interesting. Yeah. I'm not faulting you for not liking it. I'm just defending a thing I like.
Oh, no, you're allowed to like these things, and that's fine. It's one of those like, I don't know. It's just there's a lot of stories where it's like, oh, if you pull the curtain back, like all the answers are just right there. And I'm like, I fucking hate that. It just is very boring and not something I'm too super interested in. Because if there is a definitive, like, this is the answer, then it takes a lot of autonomy away from
the story.
Well, not even stories, but like the characters. Because if there's only one right answer, then like every choice that any character has made in the story, if it doesn't go to the answer, is wrong. Kind of a waste of time. And I'm like, I'm cool. I'm glad I spent my 2 hours watching this. Dope.
There's also like a horror that you could explore in that, but I feel like that would have to be a very high end game of exploring like what it means to not mean anything. Yeah. That's like what people would stereotype like a mage game being about, almost like that high level philosophy of being like, we know the answer and it's not me.
Man, that's just a mushroom trip.
That's just absurdism. You just need to read more fucking Camus.
Next question.
Next question. Okay. So this one is from Andreas22. Yeah. Who is our harpy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yes, and he asked okay, so I'm curious as to what you think. Maybe I just had a bad time, but usually there can be a justified reason for it. I appreciated when an ST gave me the option to embrace dominate/demontation with more options. Going closer to the original disciplines, Incubus Passion, The Haunting, Silence of the Sane Mind. For each of the subs, I have to spend experience as if I'm learning a new discipline, but I'm able to take those extra sub-disciplines. I feel like a lot of disciplines lost their shine in V5, but I still love the rules overall. How do you deal with that?
Okay, yeah, because in
I get where he's asking.
because there were so many different discipline paths, and they had a lot of different ways that you can like follow like the tree of how you're spending your dots and how you can build things. It gives the impression of there being a lot more choices because there's more concrete, like there's this ability that does this specifically, then there's this ability that does this specifically. I kind of like the V5 system a little bit more because I don't feel like I'm getting lost in the crunch of, oh, if I want to do this thing, I have to specifically buy this particular discipline dot at this point, and I have to buy, there's a lot of inventory trees, it feels like, with disciplines in the old World of Darkness as compared to V5, where a lot of things are written a little open-ended, but I think that's supposed to be specifically to allow room for player creativity. So I would say more times than not, if you want to do something that is not explicitly in the text of a discipline, but it's in the purview of that discipline, just ask your storyteller, like, hey, the power worked like this in the old world book, and it's very similar to how it is in this new one. Would you allow me to just do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I also, like we talked about this earlier when I was talking to John, there's also like a lot of good like storyteller vault stuff that like, as long as it's like well approved, like has reviews, like, a lot of times those things go through critiques to make sure they're balanced. And spoiler alert, as somebody who's read through a lot of them are stuff that just came from old world and they just poured it over to new world. Like there's a storyteller vault that has the flaw amnesia.
Yeah. I for a game I'm in recently, there is a storyteller's vault book that has more expanded blood sorcery that follows some of the old thaumaturgy paths a little more closely. So that might be a good option. Like if you like to have the more statted out crunch of like specific disciplines, you might want to just ask your table if they're interested in looking into the storyteller vault stuff and see what they have.
Yeah, I would also unfortunately have to answer this by, as an ST, I would take it on a case-by-case basis. I don't like, it's kind of like with D&D, you don't want to let players use any book that's ever existed, official or non, but I would have make a player like, all right, can you explain to me how this works? Can you provide me the material so that I can look over it before we use it? And then, but personally, like I know in our game that we played, you let us take like multiple dots from a tier for the cost of that. So say if I wanted two dot dominate abilities, I would have to buy it as if I was buying a second dot again.
Yeah, because when we were first playing V5, the books had just come out and there wasn't a lot of stuff and people were wanting to experiment. So my thought was, hey, your options are either, if you're at dot 2 for an ability, your options are either you can rebuy anything from the first dot or the second dot again at the cost of that level, or when you buy your third dot, you can buy down. Whichever you want to do. I kind of left that up to interpretation, and that house rule actually worked out pretty well. Shockingly, nobody got too OP.
Yeah. And especially when the books first came out, there were some I just wasn't interested as using as a character. Like I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the kiss where like
Lingering Kiss.
Yeah, Lingering Kiss. Like just I didn't find that interesting at the time. That was the only option for one of the tiers, and I was just like, I don't want that ability. I will never use it. It's a hole in my sheet.
Yeah, but
so instead, I bought down this other 2 dot, and I believe Lingering Kiss is 3 dot.
So. No, Lingering Kiss is 2 dots, but I gave you the option of either you can buy level 1 again.
That's what I did. Yeah, so I had both level 1s instead of
or if you want to buy level 2 and have that second level 1 dot as your option. So basically, you made the discipline more powerful, but it has more of an XP cost to do that. Or it's like if you don't want to waste the XP because this is not a discipline you care that much, but you want to have that other the utility of the other first level dot, I was like, you just buy the first level dot again.
Yeah. So I would
it's cheaper.
I would do that, and then I would also like if your players just want to do stuff from old world, compare it to stuff in the current book, and then give it an effective cost, or like maybe fix it a little bit. I feel like this is an issue you're not going to get with new players. I really haven't seen a new player who's looked at the books and been like, this is not enough, or I want to do more. They might have new creative ideas of things that they might like, or they may be like, I'm on my 5th Gangrel. I want to do Gangrel, but a little different. Then you might recommend Storyteller Vault or looking at some of the old ones. But this is definitely an issue not for new players, but for people who've played these games for a long time. And in that regard, I would say like you're probably experienced enough players to use them maturely and like not power game too much and still make it interesting for the story and do what you want. So at that point, I think my answer is really just do what you want, but try and be reasonable about it.
I've always, like, as a storyteller or game master or whatever, always been kind of in that camp of, like, you can kind of do whatever you want. But my biggest rule about it is, like, I think I'm using the correct vocabulary. The onus of, like, knowledge about what you're trying to do is on you as a player. Like, if we're playing D&D and you want to pull some weird sorcerer subclass from, like, a book that wasn't published but was available to the public 20 years ago, that's cool, but, like, you need to come to me and explain how it works. I don't want you to expect me to go and hunt down that book and do the research and learn how it works in the game. Not to be, I hope this doesn't sound like a jerk, but you as a player, it's kind of your responsibility to do most of the work before you bring it to your storyteller. Or bring it to your storyteller and say, hey, I would like a little bit of help doing the work on this. This is what I have so far. You know what I mean? I just don't think that you should put it on your storyteller to figure it out for you.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
Unfortunately, if you are not in a position to or not prepared to do these extra work, stick with the core books, because it is going to get messy. I mean, this is a story setting first, combat and everything second. So I think there is room for all this old stuff and new inspiration and anything like that, but you just got to put a little effort into it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think overall it's like, if you have an idea and you think it's cool and it works within the preview of what you already have, just ask and see if you can get away with it.
Do the thing.
If not, there are some third-party options now that are looking pretty good, but I haven't delved into it too deeply myself, so.
Yeah, and I have one more.
Ooh.
For time-wise, I'm going to do one more. We had some we didn't get to, and we'll do another mailbag, so if you have more questions, feel free to send us. But this is one more from Andreas. And he asks, I was listening to one of your older episodes today on the train. You mentioned that Swan Song and Blood Hunt were coming out, but I can't recall if there was any aftermath of your feelings towards any of those. Technical aspect is one thing, but were there any highlights or lowlights of the lore characters, or if it just made you want Bloodlines 2 even more?
Bloodlines 2 even more.
That last option.
Yeah, because I don't usually play on PC that much, and I haven't got a next-gen console, so I can't play Swan Song. Even though I think on console they're locked to 30 frames per second, they were just like, nah, we're not doing them on last-gen consoles. So I'm like, I haven't touched it, so...
Yeah. I think the meta plot for Blood Hunt is interesting because, one, it's just a free-for-all in Prague, which is bananas, and does tie into some of the stuff within the Cults of the Blood Gods books, because I know there's stuff in Prague for that. I know that there's supposed to be a lot of really, if you can take the time to not be doing a murder in the Blood Hunt game, there is a bunch of interesting lore stuff that people can find in Easter eggs and stuff. So if I had the time to sit and play the game more, I would just be spending my time looking for those eggs and not initiating a combat.
No. I think my biggest problem with Blood Hunt is it is I would say, very difficult ended battle royale style game. Like, I think it's definitely more difficult than like your Fortnites or PUBGs. I feel like it's because of the amount of abilities and stuff, it really does become very difficult to learn. And also, like, those are not my favorite style of games. So I bounced off of it a little bit. I think I put like maybe 15 hours into it. And there is lore in like the hub world, and it's going somewhere interesting, and there's stuff, but personally, for me, it's the kind of game where I'm just going to wait till someone makes like a 30-minute lore explained video. And
yeah, I do have plans to play Swan Song, unfortunately, because I have to adult and survive in a world of capitalism while also like going back to university and shit. I have not had the time to sit down and actually play Swan Song, and because of the different character choices, that's a game I'm going to have to sink time into, because you're going to have to play through it multiple times. It's kind of like the story games that they have.
Yeah, it's basically a point and click adventure.
Yeah. Which I fucking love point and click. I fucking love that shit. But that might be if I can get my shit together after the New Year's, if people are interested in me doing a stream series for that, maybe. But yeah, I'm very intrigued in it, and I'm hoping that the Bloodlines 2 people have taken the lessons from the disaster that was the Cyberpunk game and are using their time wisely to make something that is going to be worthy of everybody's time and energies.
Cyberpunk was worth everybody's time and energies.
No, it
After the fact.
No.
Well, no, here's the thing.
You just have to play on a correct console.
Yeah.
PC.
The issue
Pro did fine.
I wish that the CD Projekt Red guys did not acquiesce to the public screeching.
Oh, I agree, yeah.
And demanding for the game.
I totally agree.
And everybody that was like, oh my god, they released a game that was still all these issues. I'm like, yeah, because you guys wouldn't shut the fuck up.
That was my scream into the void. That's the biggest scream into the void of the internet that I've had in a while.
Yeah.
Was when everybody was like, oh, we're going to start, canceling our pre-orders, and there were talks of lawsuits and shit like that toward CD Projekt Red. They were like, okay, fine, and they laid it out, and then everyone was like, we're going to sue them because it's bad, and I was like, fuck off.
When you have 5 pushbacks in the date, and then you're just like, we need more, and they're just like, we can't, you just give them as many as they want. Just be like, fuck it, take your time. Just make sure the cars don't make flaming Jenga towers because your car's driving too fast.
Video games
are too big.
Video games are too big these days, and video games are also now multi-person creative art projects, and art projects take time, and they are done when they are done, and unfortunately there's millions of very entitled people on the internet that do not fucking understand that, and fuck them.
I will say the biggest thing that CD Projekt Red did wrong on Cyberpunk is I think that they made a lot of promises that the technology of computing we have right now could probably not keep up with very well, at least to the public, unless you're building supercomputers.
I think they overhyped and over merchandised it too early.
Yeah,
I don't think they should have been selling fucking bobbleheads at Target 2 years before the game actually came out.
Probably.
I bet it was investors being like, do it, get money. I don't know their business structure or anything like that, but personally, by the time the game came out, I was a little sick of seeing the merchandise and stuff. I'm not going to buy that before the fucking game comes out. So by that point, it's like, I don't want a fucking poster. I'm also not the guy who buys Funko Pops or any of that kind of shit, but to me in my brain, it almost became more of a fucking child's toy. Yeah. As a series more than it was a game. I would have just waited till the fucking Edge Runners series was done. They were working on it before the game came out. I would have just put them out at the same time or closer to each other, let them take their COVID extra year or two, and would have been perfect for everybody. The game's blowing up again because the TV show came out.
Mm-hmm.
Just bringing up an issue, which was I said Swan Song, I meant Blood Hunt.
But
I'm pretty sure everybody could tell from context clues because I was battle royale game that they're because you can play Swan Song on fucking everything. I could play it on my phone right now if I wanted to.
Hell yeah. Cyberpunk unfortunately became a victim of the system that it is actively critiquing. It literally Cyberpunk is accidentally a multi-layer art piece of a cyberpunk genre media and literature piece, metatextually as well as textually, which makes it much more endearing to me. And I'm kind of glad that that's the game that exploded on, because I'm like, oh, this just proves the point of the genre quadfold over in ways that are just kind of brilliant.
Oh my god, they did it on purpose.
They might have done it on purpose.
CD Projekt Red is actually the best game program.
I am a fucking genius.
Yeah.
But that's partially why I'm kind of glad that the Bloodlines 2 team have just pulled everything back, and they're like, look, we're gonna work on things quietly, and we'll give you little updates when we got them. And I'm like, that's fine. I'd rather you guys pay your workers, not do crunch, not do a molestation, and make a thing that everyone's going to enjoy at the end.
Yep.
I mean, it's never going to come out, but that's fine.
No, it will. Just give it time.
It's cursed. There's whole YouTube videos talking about how it's cursed and it's never coming out.
It's being made by vampires, and they have all of the time, and we are but mere mortals, and they don't understand.
Look, guys, we will die. Please let us play it before that.
Go on.
Oh, I was going to say one last thing on Cyberpunk. It started as a tabletop game. It's created by Mike Pondsmith, who still works on the franchise today. He didn't work much on the video games. I think he approved the story, but I don't think he wrote it. Yeah. Could be wrong there. But when people talk about the tabletop game or the TV series or the game and stuff, keep him in mind. I've seen so many stories being created by CJ Project Red or like created by like
No.
R. Talsorian Games, who was like their publisher, but like it's created by Mike Pondsmith, especially as like a like vocal black creator in the tabletop community. Like he did it, not any of these other people. He's the guy you should be interviewing.
And he's cool as
I was
fuck.
about to say Johnny
he is cool.
Silverhands was like the main character from like the fucking beginning. This was like their tentpole telling their story. They didn't just randomly go, Keanu Reeves with bitchin' ass fucking hands and a cool ass gun. They were like, no, this dude's been in Cyberpunk since.
I
forever.
actually have one of the OG Cyberpunk game boxes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's
great.
It's a great system. It's a good time. But yeah, no, considering how much people in the community are like, we need to listen to POC creators. And I'm like, y'all are real bad at it.
Then stop erasure, motherfucker.
Right? Give the man his flowers. Give the man his flowers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like a lot of those main characters were just characters from him and his friend's game when they were playing it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure like Johnny Silverhand was originally just a friend of his character that got put in the books and then expanded on.
He's a cool ass character.
They were like, they're having trouble listening to POCs back in the day. But I've made him a hot white rocker.
Well, no.
I bet they'll listen to him now.
No, it's just, people are allowed to make pretty much whatever character they want within the bounds of respect and reason.
I might cut that because I don't think that was his character, so I think Johnny Silverhand may have always been white. But
yeah,
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Just because I want to get that fact straight.
Yeah.
But,
for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, so
I am excited for Bloodlines 2 whenever things happen, and I hopefully will be able to organize a Sarah gets drunk and plays Swan Song and screams.
Yeah, and if not, hopefully we at least someday get our weird Duke Nukem Forever world where the weird beta version releases and we at least get to see what the fuck it was supposed to be.
Oh, that would be sick.
Yeah. I would love, I'm just hoping when Bloodlines comes out, they have all the clans instead of like in Bloodlines 1s where it's like, hi, find a mod so you can play the other clans. You want to play any of the Sabat ones or any of the independents?
I mean,
mod time.
My issue with that idea, I think, though, is like, I guess with modern video games, you get a fuck ton of options. But like, when Bloodlines came out, I don't think that most computers or the technology was available to have effective clans for all of them.
It's also a lot to ask for game devs to come up with storylines that were that in-depth.
Yeah.
For 13 clans straight out of the gate in 2004.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's a lot to ask for dev teams to do that even now. I mean, that's 13 wholly different storylines, and the way games are developed now, it's like each of those storylines have to have like 12 endings because you're going to have choice altering world things.
I don't think there was much difference in playing the only real clan that made a difference in playing Bloodlines was if you played a Nosferatu.
No, Malkavians had a completely different.
Yeah, Malkavians had a way different thing too.
Yeah, like Malkavians had a thing where like the TV would talk to you and you could go inside the TV and all sorts of crazy shit.
I need to play Bloodlines again as a
You
Malkavian.
really do. Yeah,
It's fun. It's my favorite.
It's so fun.
It was my favorite
And
class.
also
I
the
said
mod
again, I've played...
And the mod community for the first Bloodlines game is amazing.
They need to put this like big in the description. You can still buy Bloodlines on Steam and like do all this. FYI, you have to get a non-official patch to be able to play it on modern computers because everybody doesn't know that it was designed for a 32-bit system.
Yep.
And systems are now 64 bits.
Oh, interesting note. If you buy it on GOG, Good Old Games, which is actually owned by the people who put out Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red, they run that. It comes with the fan patch pre-installed.
Oh, cool.
And then I believe you can wibbly wobbly computer time stuff there. You can set it up to either just be the core game as intended, but they fixed it and make it work. They've also gone back and talking to and working with the original devs are now going and re-adding all the stuff that was cut for time and new content back into the game.
Dope.
And you can turn that on too. That's really up to you as a first-time player or as someone returning what you want. But
That's cool.
I thought that's really cool. It's gotten that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, dope. So yeah, any other wrap-up final questions?
Thank you, Paralyze, for the soundtrack.
I had one.
Oh, you had one?
Yeah, I had one.
You have a question?
Yeah, if an evil wizard was going to curse you, but you got to choose between these two curses, which would you choose?
Which?
Every single day, your hair grew between 3 and 4 feet. So you stay, you don't cut it for 2 days, and you have like
8 feet of hair.
8 feet of hair. Or every single day, your toenails grow between 1 and 2 inches.
Oh, the hair.
Hair.
Yeah,
Absolutely
really.
the
Hair, you can donate that to a cancer ward.
I would be afraid that it would snap my neck
because it's heavy.
because of the very quick increase in weights.
As somebody who cuts their own hair like all the time regularly, I'm like that. I can manage that. That's fine.
Actually, to take it back to the theme of the show, if you had like 7 feet of hair as a vampire, every time you woke up, or at least every time you healed, you would have 7 feet of hair on you
That'd
again.
be rough. That'd be rough.
Oops.
I wouldn't like it.
I wish more storytellers and players would play with that just trope because I think it's funny to be like, okay, this is how you look like when you died, and if you change it every day, like that's fine. But if you do any kind of healing, whoop, it's back.
I'm not gonna say what it was, but if you want to go look at the old world editions and go look at the now Prince of Chicago's haircut in that old boy.
He had some very interesting hairstyles based on, it was the style at the time.
Yep. As somebody who has memories from around then,
Ooh, buddy.
that shit was fire.
Good
It was
stuff.
hell yeah, flat tops. Anyways, thank you, Paralyze, for your music. You guys are dope. They're on Bandcamp. They do good stuff.
Yes, and we are also online. We have a Discord where all these questions came from tonight. We have a spot if you want to join, hang out, ask us some questions. There are always people active. Hang out, talk about Vampire, talk about other tabletop games, talk about pretty much anything at this point.
Give me your sky tax.
Yeah. We have a Patreon, and there are some special roles and places in the Discord for our patrons, but the majority of it is free to everyone who wants to join, hang out in our community. Yeah. So, check us out there. We're also on the Twitter at Blank Bodies Pod.
Well, we will see how long that lasts.
Yeah, I don't know. There's talks about
No, Twitter, we're just on blank underscore bodies.
That's correct.
Twitter is _bodies. We'll see how long that lasts. Hopefully, look, I enjoy watching a man speed run becoming a millionaire.
Yeah, well, no, speed run fucking losing a business.
Hell yeah.
God,
But yeah, we also have Instagram at blankbodiespod. Hunter posts glitch art, and also we have postings on there. We do have a TikTok at Blank Bodies Podcast. I'm sorry, I've been neglecting you babies. I will try to get on there and do a clock app.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I posted some glitch art. I might do that.
Yeah, give me the glitch art.
That's
great.
Let me share it with the baby boomer zoomer kids. The kids love seizures.
Oh, hell yeah. I can give them seizures.
Hell yeah.
Let's see.
For legal reasons, no, we will not.
Well, yeah, we joked about making a Tumblr.
We might actually have to do that now.
We joked about making whatever that new social media people thought was going to be cool.
What?
There's when people thought Musk was going to buy Twitter the first time, they started going as like Rhino or something.
Oh, I have no idea about that. I know Jack Dorsey is in the betas for Blue Sky, so we'll update that when we get that.
Yeah, so who knows? The world's a nightmare. Hang out on Discord. It's the only one that's semi-acceptable. We prefer if you're 18 and up, just because those are the rules for Discord. So if you're a younger listener, I apologize, but
Get the fuck out till you turn 18.
We don't want to
Yeah,
go
it's
to
going to get
jail.
real weird.
We're going to go. I don't want to go to jail.
Your parents are not going to fucking like us.
No, I will talk to you about a communism and an anarchy. They will be upset. I say the F word. They're going to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, but if you're a fan of ours, but if you're a listener of ours and you're not 18, feel free to join us on other social medias. You can also email us at blankbodies@gmail.com. I'll take questions there if you don't use the Discord, or if you want to suggest ideas for episodes, you want to give us feedback, you'd like to come on the interview series I do.
Yeah, if you got like a project you're working on and you want to share it, if it's gaming or spooky related, we are happy to talk about it because community is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Also, if you're a real vampire.
Yeah,
Hit
we
us up.
still have not interviewed a vampire
Fucking
yet.
trying,
They
man.
just keep going on like they're not.
I'm not, and we need to interview one.
Right.
Yes.
So we do an interview with Sarah.
No, I'm not a vampire. How dare you?
How dare.
Do we have anything else? I think that's...
If you like us, give us money.
Yeah,
That
that's
helps
true.
support
Yeah.
the show. We have upgraded equipment. We are continuing to try and increase the quality of the show. I think we have some goals of, at least I do, of trying to get to the point where there's some ancillary research books I would like to actually afford to buy to help improve the quality of the show and the info we're giving, and hopefully improve your gaming at your table as well by proxy.
Yeah.
We have a goal right now is if we can hit 500 a month, we're going to make this a weekly show. I know we're working our way there, but it's important to have goals, and we'll try and flex and do that.
Yeah.
So
if we hit that goal, we can actually afford to take the time off to do a show a week instead of 3 a month. So
Yay!
One of which being a bonus episode.
Yes.
We've talked about all kinds of stuff. If we get to that, maybe we start our own little chronicle and we have a game session a month and then do 2 mains and a bonus. Yeah. We'll see when we get there. You guys listen to us, so you'll have to tell us what you'd want to see. We've also, I mentioned last episode, but we are still in the initial planning phases of doing some sort of charity stream this December. So if you have ideas, pelt them at us.
We're fucking morons.
We've gotten some good feedback already, and we really enjoy that. We've also talked about just doing streaming in general and how we want to approach that. So, all these are things that we appreciate your feedback on.
Give input, please. Thank you.
Yeah. And then these two, Sarah and James, are over on Lanyap Gaming. They do some actual games there. And I have a little podcast called Confession Cam where we talk about reality TV shows. And the good news is we're almost done with the Kardashians, so we can do a show that people actually want to listen to people talk about.
I am excited for whenever you guys get to Hoarders.
That's on the list. I have a really weird one.
Oh hell yeah!
It's at the end of the episode. Maybe I should I hint at what I'm doing?
What's give us a nugget. Give us a nugget of tasty, juicy gossip.
Imagine if HGTV did a true crime show.
Ooh.
Oh no! Is it? Oh no! Is it the one I'm thinking? Is it? Oh no!
It might be, but anyway.
Oh, anyways, we gotta go.
I don't have any projects you guys can do except for get on the Discord and sometimes watch me be really bad at video games.
You do a Vermintide.
I do a Vermintide every once in a while.
And a Deep Rock. All right. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So long.